Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going through episode 2 of the Photoshop scripts tutorial series. Today we are going to be making a couple of goal graphics using scripts obviously, and looping through a CSV file with a couple of names and player numbers. We'll also try to replace the smart object which contains the player render in the background. We've already set up the Photoshop file and part of the script already. All these resources will be available in a link in the description at the end of the video. So if we hop on to our script and Photoshop file, the main layers that we're going to be changing today are highlighted in red. It's important that when you make these layers that you give them, consistent names so that it's easy to remember. So we're going to be replacing name and player today. As you see as well, most of my scripts, they get reused quite a lot. So I've got a functions file here which I can just go and grab something if I need a particular function that I want to use. So today I have grabbed, we've got a read in CSV function which helps you to read a CSV file and convert it to an array, and a replace contents function which will help us replace the contents of the smart object. And there's the basic one as well, which is, every time I want to see stuff before I actually do it in Photoshop, I've got a log file which you can see down the bottom. It just gives me a visual representation of what I want to input. So the first thing we do in this file is we are reading the CSV file. We've got 6 rows. We only need 5. Obviously we don't want the row header. So the read in CSV function pretty much loops through each row and converts it to an array so it's easier to use. This then gets set to a variable called lines, and then we're using a for loop so we can loop through from 1 to 5 to grab each name. So if we just quickly do log, we're going to use that function first. We want to output all the lines. And log file is the name of our file up here. As you can see, log file sets to log.txt. So when I run this now, you should see the names and numbers appeared on the bottom. So a representation of the variable I is that it will increment until it reaches the end of the length of the array. So the length of the lines array would be 6, because obviously we've got a header row in there as well. But in JavaScript we always start from 0, so that counts as 1. So it'll go from 1 to 5, which will give us all 5 names. And just to show you what happens here, if we just log the variable I, you're going to see there. But we don't want to grab each row, we want to grab the individual records that are in there. So we've got 2 columns, one is name and one is number. So if we wanted to grab just the name, we'd obviously have to get the row first, and then we want to access the columns. So the first column would be 0, which is name. And then if we log this, see that we just get the names. And if we just wanted the numbers, it would be 1. There you go. So now we want to access the layer name, and by doing that we've got a variable called doc which sets to the current document at the top, and then we want to access the layers. So we're going to set it to layers, and then there's a function called get by name, so you can search for names, and obviously the layer is called name. And this item is a text item, and we want to replace the contents, and then equals whatever we want it to equals, which is going to be lines, current row, first column, which is name, and then we're just going to alert just to break it up so you can see it being replaced. So if I just save that, come over here, go to script, and that's still not working. Oh, it is working, it's just not breaking it up. So we're going to alert the name, so you can see it's being passed into Photoshop. So first we had Di Maria, then Neymar, then Messi, Icardi, and last Mbappe. And as you can see, it's now been changed to Mbappe. So that's how we change the name. What we'll do is we'll go and add in a new layer just for now. We're going to call this number. I'm going to change that to red as well because we're changing it. And then we go into align it to the middle. And then we want to copy and paste this layer and then call it number, and we're going to change it to the current row and then second column, which is the number, and then hopefully this will change it in the Photoshop file as well. There you go. So once you get the hang of it, it's pretty copy and paste stuff. I mean, that didn't take long to write, and obviously if you had multiple layers then that you wanted to replace, it's literally a copy and paste. Change the layer that you want to get and change the column that you want to use. But we don't want to just leave it there. We want to obviously save each one automatically. So we're going to call on this function right here. I think we're going to save each one each time. So save PNG, we're just passing the file name. So we're just going to call it goal, and then we want to append the current name, which is the current row, first column. I got save path here, so we need to set a save path. Let's just have a look. So I don't know if I've saved. Let me just check. Right, we'll create a new folder, PNG. So I've got a new folder in here now called PNG. We want to make sure that we've got the right folder. So we're going to do save path equals new path, because it's in the same folder as the script. And then we want to append oh no, it's appending PNG already. So we're just going to log save path to the log file just to check that we are in fact using the correct path. Yeah. So then it will append PNG on the end and then save it automatically. So let's give it a go. And hopefully we'll see them appearing in this folder now. Nothing ever works first time. There you go. Oh, I got save JPEG. Should be save PNG. does seem to have only saved one. But it is saving them. As you can see, the name is changing. Not quite sure why it's taking so long. Messi, Icardi, Di Maria, Neymar, and just waiting for Mbappe. So now the next step will be to replace, obviously, the player render in the background. Let's go back to our script. So we want to use this function called replace contents. I've got an example here. And the whole point in using, creating a separate functions for file is so that you don't have to keep typing things out all the time. Most of the stuff is repetitive and you just want to reuse it. So we're gonna change this. Now we want to access the players. So our new file is going to be here in players. As you can see, I've tried to keep the names exactly the same as what's in the CSV file. So we can just use player name as a variable, set it to the current row, and then the first column, which is the player name. And then we are going to access current path and PNG. And then the smart object, we want to access the doc and layers, and obviously it's called player. So the smart object we pass through, the new file we pass through into here, and it literally will just replace the contents as if you went into Photoshop and did the replace contents tab. So there's only one way to find out if this works now. We're going to give it a run. There's no errors yet. Don't even know if it's run. I have been having problems with my PC the last few days. It does seem to be running. But Photoshop recently, since the last update, it's been crashing quite often. I think it's doing Mbappe next. I don't feel like it's replacing anything at the moment. We got some errors. Let's have a look. What have I done? I didn't change our variable from my default. So we're passing this through into here. And then the new file becomes the full path that we pass into there. And then the smart object layer that we want to replace. So let's delete these and then run the script again. See, it's not. This pop-up basically means that it's looking for the folder, so we're obviously not doing something completely right here. So I'm just going to cancel. So obviously for each one now it's going to ask me to find the image that I want to use. So that's the last one. So I don't get why this is not working too much. So pass in a new file, user cancel the operation. So we're not going to do that this time, and we're not going to save it until we're happy that it is getting replaced. So we're just going to log new file. I'm kind of glad that it's not working straight away, because it shows that, you know, things do go wrong. Is it because of the spaces? Like, perhaps we do backspaces instead. Let's try that. Still doesn't like it. Oh, what am I doing? We're not looking in PNG, are we? We need players. Rookie mistake. Right. So now we are going to delete these again. And now we should see it getting replaced. Just leave that run for 2 minutes. As you can see up here, you can see that they're being replaced. And that's looking pretty good for a template. So we're just going to uncomment the save. And when you watch here, you can see that when each one has changed. Probably taking a while to save due to the fact that my template is quite big, and the fact that Photoshop's export PNGs at the moment are crashing quite often. Once this is loaded now, we'll have a look, see how quick the JPEG is. So if we have a look, we've got Di Maria, Icardi, Messi, Neymar. Once this temp file is gone, we'll be able to look at Mbappe. So the script is now fully working. We want to try saving as JPEG as well. Not everyone saves as PNG. So I've also got a function for that, which I will include in this just so that you've got it. So we're going to save the JPEG. And obviously we need a folder called JPEG. And that is going to save it there. We don't need to change anything else. So if we want it to save JPEG, let's see how fast that saves. That's a lot quicker, but yeah, that's done already. Yeah, so there must be a recent update in Photoshop. Like I said, when I'm exporting PNGs, I'm getting quite a lot of problems. Obviously, it goes a lot quicker when you use the JPEG function, but you still get the same result. That's pretty much it for this tutorial today. I'll package all this up, put it in a link for download. It'll be in the description. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Until then, we'll do episode 3 in about a week or two. We'll look at using APIs so we can grab data from an external source, so we can do a bit more automation rather than creating data ourselves using a CSV file. But until then, I'll see you all soon.